What does a flashing yellow traffic light mean? A. Merging traffic. B. Proceed with caution. C. Pedestrian crossing. D. Come to a full stop. B. Proceed with caution. A flashing yellow traffic light indicates that you should drive with caution. If you are turning onto a street with more than one lane traveling in your direction, you should A. Turn into the lane closest to your previous lane. B. Turn into the lane marked with an arrow. C. Turn into the middle lane. D. Turn into any lane. A. Turn into the lane closest to your previous lane. When turning onto a street with more than one lane moving in the direction that you are traveling, turn into the lane that is closest to your previous lane. Do not change lanes when turning. Blood alcohol content (BAC) depends on each of the following, except A. Your body weight. B. How much you drink. C. How much time passes between drinks. D. How physically fit you are. D. How physically fit you are. Your blood alcohol content (BAC) depends on how much alcohol you drink, how much time passes between drinks, and your weight. It is not affected by the type of alcoholic beverages you drink, your level of physical fitness, or how well you can hold your liquor. When two vehicles enter an intersection from different highways at the same time, which vehicle must yield the right-of-way? A. Either one. B. The vehicle on the left. C. The vehicle on the right. D. Neither. B. The vehicle on the left. At intersections that are controlled by signs or signals and at intersections that are uncontrolled, the driver on the left must yield the right-of-way to the driver on the right when two vehicles arrive to the intersection at the same time.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
When changing lanes you should not A. Check your side and rear view mirrors. B. Give a turn signal to signal your intentions. C. Check for other drivers who may be moving into the same lane as you. D. Use your cell phone to contact the police to determine if the road ahead is clear. This road sign means A. No passing zone. B. Winding road. C. Pedestrian crossing. D. Low ground railroad crossing. D. Low ground railroad crossing. This sign indicates a low ground railroad crossing. Where this sign is present, railroad tracks cross the road at a steep slope and the bottom of low vehicles may drag or get caught on the tracks. You approach an emergency vehicle that is stopped with its lights flashing. You must A. Slow down. If possible, change lanes so you will not drive next to the stopped emergency vehicle. B. Drive to the right side of the road and stop. C. Stay in your lane and continue to drive at the same speed. D. Accelerate to quickly pass the stopped vehicle. This sign means A. Stop. B. Side road. C. Two-way left turn. D. Farm machinery. A. Stop. 8-sided traffic signs warn drivers that they must stop and yield the appropriate right-of-way at an intersection. Drivers may proceed when it is safe to do so. Do not pass. A. On a hill or curve. B. When school bus lights are flashing. C. When approaching an intersection. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. You should never pass if there is an oncoming vehicle in the passing lane, if your view is blocked by a curve or hill, at an intersection, before or on a railroad crossing or bridge, or in any other no-passing zone. Unless you are on the opposite side of a multi-lane roadway with a median or shared center turn lane, you may not pass a stopped school bus that has its flashing red lights activated. If an officer is directing traffic at a working traffic light, drivers should A. Follow the directions indicated by the traffic light. B. Follow the directions given by the officer. C. Honk at the officer. D. Check to see what the cars next to them are doing. B. Follow the directions given by the officer. Traffic signals are placed at intersections to keep traffic moving and to help prevent crashes. Drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists must obey these signals, except in instances when an officer is directing traffic. The risk of hydroplaning can be reduced by driving A. Through shallow water. B. More quickly. C. More slowly. D. Through deep water. C. More slowly. Because hydroplaning is caused by driving too quickly in wet conditions, the risk of it happening can be reduced by driving more slowly. The most effective safety restraints in a traffic crash are A. Only a lap and shoulder belt. B. Only an airbag. C. Both a lap, shoulder belt and an airbag. D. No safety restraints. C. Both a lap, shoulder belt and an airbag. Safety belts can double your chance of surviving a crash and more than double your chance of avoiding serious injury. Airbags, when used properly with safety belts, provide additional protection in a front-end crash. You should wear both shoulder and lap belts. A driver who has been convicted of 3 traffic offenses that caused accidents over the course of 3 years. A. Must complete a DHSMV-approved driver improvement course. B. Must hand in their license. C. Will not be permitted to drive on freeways. D. May not leave the state. A. Must complete a DHSMV-approved driver improvement course. The 3 crashes in 3 years law requires drivers who have been convicted of 3 traffic incidents that have caused accidents over the course of 36 months to enroll in and complete an approved driver improvement course. The driver must also complete behind-the-wheel training from a commercial driving school and pass an extended driving test. The requirements must be met within 90 days or the driver's license will be cancelled. This sign means A. Trucks under 18,000 pounds. Allowed. B. Hill ahead. C. Truck stop ahead. D. No trucks allowed. B. Hill ahead. This sign warns that there is a steep hill ahead. When entering a street from a driveway, you A. Must drive slowly to allow approaching vehicles and pedestrians time to get out of your way. B. Must honk your horn so approaching vehicles and pedestrians know to give you room. C. Must stop and proceed only when there are no pedestrians or vehicles approaching. D. Can disregard any pedestrians if there is no sidewalk. Road rage and aggressive driving may be reduced by A. Allowing extra travel time. B. Obeying posted speed limits. C. Using proper turn signals. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. As an increasing number of drivers populate the roadways, road rage becomes more prevalent. To help prevent road rage, a driver should use proper turn signals, obey posted speed limits, and allow plenty of travel time. When the driver behind you wants to pass, you should A. Speed up. B. Go the same speed. C. Slow down to allow room in front of your vehicle for the other driver to complete the pass easily. D. Change lanes. C. Slow down to allow room in front of your vehicle for the other driver to complete the pass easily. When the driver behind you wants to pass, you should slow down so that there is enough room in front of your vehicle for the other driver to complete their pass. This will allow them to complete the passing maneuver in less time and more easily. When making a right turn on a green light, you must A. Maintain your normal driving speed. B. Stop and look for nearby police cars. C. Yield to pedestrians. D. Increase your normal driving speed. C. Yield to pedestrians. Unless a posted sign prohibits it, you may turn right or left at a steady green light. When turning, you must yield to other vehicles and pedestrians within the intersection. To enter a freeway, A. Signal, yield to existing traffic, and enter at the same speed that traffic is moving. B. Signal and enter the freeway. Freeway traffic must yield. C. Drive slowly so you can check traffic. D. Always come to a complete stop first. A. Signal, yield to existing traffic, and enter at the same speed that traffic is moving. When merging into traffic, you should signal and enter at the same speed that traffic is moving. Always yield to other traffic when entering a roadway. Which of the following recommendations does not promote safe night driving? A. Keep your windshield clean. B. Be aware that tinted windows reduce visibility in the dark. C. Carry a flashlight in your vehicle. D. Look into the headlights of oncoming vehicles. D. Look into the headlights of oncoming vehicles. If you look into the headlights of an oncoming vehicle, the pupil of your eye will contract. After the oncoming vehicle has passed, there will be an interval of time during which the pupil must readjust to the less intense light. During this recovery period, you are virtually driving blind. You must stop at an intersection when you see a flashing red light. B. Steady yellow light. C. Yellow arrow. D. Flashing yellow light. A. Flashing red light. A flashing red traffic signal has the same meaning as a stop sign. At an intersection with a flashing red light, you must come to a complete stop, look both ways, and proceed only after the intersection is clear. If towing something behind your vehicle, the drawbar or towing connection A. Must exceed 15 feet in length. B. Must be strong enough to pull all the towed weight. C. May not have any flags or reflectors attached to it. D. Must be marked with a yellow flag. B. Must be strong enough to pull all the towed weight. If a driver is towing something behind their vehicle, they must ensure that the drawbar or towing connection is strong enough to pull all of the towed weight safely. If the towing connection is a rope, cable, or chain, the driver should attach a square, 12-inch white flag. Unless the towed object is difficult to take apart, the towing connection should be no more than 15 feet long. If you drink alcohol socially, what helps ensure safe driving? A. Drink coffee before driving. B. Ride home with a friend who has not been drinking. C. Take a cold shower before driving. D. Stop drinking 1/2 hour before driving. This sign shows one type of A. Right turn. B. Intersection. C. Lane change. D. Road curve. A red flashing traffic light has the same meaning as A. Solid red light. B. Stop sign. C. Yield sign. D. Caution sign. B. Stop sign. A red flashing traffic signal has the same meaning as a stop sign. When approaching a red flashing signal, come to a complete stop and proceed when it is safe to do so. A stop sign may sometimes also be posted where this signal is located. Distracted driving may be caused by A. Eating, drinking, or smoking. B. Talking or texting on a cellular phone. C. Changing a radio station or CD. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. It is estimated that drivers make 200 decisions for every mile traveled, making it vital that drivers focus their full attention on the task of driving. Performing any additional task can create a dangerous distraction. It is important to slow down. A. On narrow or winding roads. B. At intersections or railroad crossings. C. When the road is wet or slippery. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. You should always slow down when driving on narrow or winding roads, near intersections, near railroad crossings, on hills, in sharp or blind curves, where there are pedestrians or driving hazards, and when the roads are wet or slippery. When driving past a vehicle that has just stopped in a parked position on the side of the road, you should A. Assume that the driver will open the car door as you approach. B. Speed up. C. Slam on your brakes. D. Assume that the driver will wait for you to pass before opening the door. A. Assume that the driver will open the car door as you approach. When passing a vehicle that has just parked parallel to the road, you should assume the driver will open the door as you approach. Use extra caution when driving near parked vehicles. Unless otherwise posted, the speed limit is. Fill in the blank. On limited access highways. A. 70 miles per hour. B. 55 miles per hour. C. 45 miles per hour. D. 30 miles per hour. What should you do if your vehicle's right wheels leave the pavement? A. Stop quickly. B. Immediately pull all the way off of the road and get back on when it is safe. C. Accelerate and steer back on the road quickly. D. Take your foot off the accelerator, slow down, then ease back onto the road when it is safe to do so. D. Take your foot off the accelerator, slow down, then ease back onto the road when it is safe to do so. If your vehicle's right wheels leave the pavement, don't panic. Take your foot off the accelerator and steer parallel to the road. Slow down and ease back onto the roadway by keeping both hands on the steering wheel and steering into the road's right lane with a small turn of the steering wheel. Check for traffic around you before steering back onto the pavement. You are waiting to turn left at a multi-lane intersection and opposing traffic is blocking your view. You should A. Accelerate rapidly when the first lane you need to cross is clear. B. Wait until you can see all the lanes you need to cross before going ahead with your turn. C. Wait for an oncoming driver to wave you across the intersection. D. Edge your car into each lane of opposing traffic as soon as it clears. B. Wait until you can see all the lanes you need to cross before going ahead with your turn. You should never start a left turn until you can see that all the lanes you need to cross are clear and that you can safely make the turn. This sign means A. Heavy traffic ahead. B. Do not enter. C. Railroad crossing. D. Yield. B. Do not enter. This sign means that it is not safe for drivers to enter the indicated road or driveway from their current direction. If you come across one of these signs, you should immediately turn around and drive a different way. If your turn signals fail, you should use fill in the blank to indicate that you are turning. A. Your horn. B. Your headlights. C. Hand signals. D. Your emergency flashers. C. Hand signals. If your vehicle's turn signals do not work, you should use hand signals to indicate when you intend to change direction. If two drivers arrive at the same time to a four-way intersection controlled by stop signs. A. The driver on the right has the right of way. B. The driver on the left has the right of way. C. One driver may continue driving without stopping. D. One driver should honk to indicate that they are giving up the right of way. A. The driver on the right has the right of way. Yield the right of way to the driver on your right at a four-way intersection if you both arrive to the intersection at the same time. You may then proceed when it is safe to do so. What is the appropriate action to take when approaching a railroad crossing that does not have signals to direct traffic? A. Always bring the car to a complete stop. B. Slow down and be prepared to stop. C. All railroad crossings have signals so you will never encounter this situation. D. Increase your speed to get across the tracks quickly. B. Slow down and be prepared to stop. When approaching an unmarked railroad crossing, slow down and be prepared to stop. Before you cross, be sure that no trains are approaching from either direction on any track. If you see or hear a train coming, stop at a safe distance from the nearest track and wait to proceed until after the train passes. When you drive through an area where children are playing, you should expect them: A. To know when it is safe to cross the street. B. To stop at the curb before crossing the street. C. To run out in front of you without looking. D. Not to cross the street unless they are with an adult. C. To run out in front of you without looking. You should always reduce your speed and use extra caution when children are in the vicinity. They may fail to understand the danger and may run out in front of you without looking. The act of turning your head and checking your blind spot before changing lanes, driving away from a curb, or merging your vehicle into traffic is A. A bad driving habit. B. A good driving habit. C. Unnecessary. D. Not necessary if you use the rearview mirror. B. A good driving habit. When changing lanes, it is important to check your blind spots. Do this by looking over your shoulder toward the next lane. Do not rely only on your mirrors. To avoid collisions with vehicles in your blind spots, you should A. Quickly turn your head to see if your blind spot is clear before changing lanes. B. Adjust your rearview mirrors every few minutes. C. Honk your horn right before turning or changing lanes. D. None of the above. A. Quickly turn your head to see if your blind spot is clear before changing lanes. Before turning or changing lanes, turn your head and glance over your shoulder in the direction of your move to see if your blind spot is clear. Never rely on your mirrors alone. This sign means A. Crossroad ahead. B. Flagger ahead. C. Lane ends. D. Turn right or go straight. A. Crossroad ahead. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign alerts drivers to an upcoming intersection. This road sign means A. Bicycle crossing. B. Stop only if other cars are approaching. C. Bicycle store. D. Soft shoulders. A. Bicycle crossing. This sign, with the arrow below, indicates the location of a bicycle crossing path. Drive with caution around this sign because bicycles likely regularly cross or ride beside traffic in the area. This road sign means A. School crossing. B. Pedestrian crossing. C. Jogging trail. D. Busy sidewalk. B. Pedestrian crossing. This sign indicates the presence of a pedestrian crossing. You should watch for people entering a crosswalk or crossing your path. Slow down and be prepared to stop. Before turning left, it is important to A. Sound your horn. B. Yield to oncoming vehicles. C. Swing to the right side of your lane. D. Wait until oncoming traffic has a red light. B. Yield to oncoming vehicles. When turning left at a traffic signal, you must yield the right of way to pedestrians and oncoming traffic. When two vehicles arrive to an intersection at the same time, which one has the right of way when no signs or signals indicate rules? A. The car approaching from the right has the right of way. B. The car approaching from the left has the right of way. C. The car in which the driver sounds his horn first has the right of way. D. The car that is traveling the fastest has the right of way. A. The car approaching from the right has the right of way. At an intersection of two similar roads without a traffic control device, a driver must yield to a vehicle approaching from the right. A red arrow displayed on a traffic light means that A. A driver must proceed slowly through the intersection. B. A driver must stop and then proceed when the way is clear. C. A driver must stop and then proceed when the signal changes to a green light or green arrow. D. A driver may turn in the direction that the red arrow is pointing. Signs indicating areas of public recreation are A. Orange. B. Red. C. Green. D. Brown. D. Brown. Signs that are brown indicate areas of cultural and historical significance or of public recreation. They can be a helpful resource when traveling in unfamiliar locations. This sign means A. T intersection. B. Lane shifting. C. Side road. D. Do not block intersection. A. T intersection. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign warns drivers that they are approaching a T intersection and should prepare to turn either right or left. This sign means A. Railroad crossing. B. One-way traffic. C. Limited parking. D. Playground ahead. A. Railroad crossing. Circular traffic signs indicate upcoming railroad crossings. This sign tells drivers that they are approaching a railroad crossing and should be looking for signs of an oncoming train. Which of the following is true regarding seat belts and child restraints in vehicles? A. You should never place an infant or small child in the front seat of a vehicle with airbags. B. An airbag can be dangerous to an infant or small child, even in a low-speed collision. C. You should always make sure all your passengers are using a seat belt or child restraint. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Before you drive, always fasten your seat belt and make sure all your passengers are using seat belts or child restraints. Studies have shown that if you use seat belts, your chances of being hurt or killed in a traffic crash are greatly reduced. Children age 12 and under should always ride properly restrained in a rear seat. Never put a rear-facing infant restraint in the front seat of a vehicle with a front passenger airbag. A broken yellow line alongside a solid yellow line means A. Passing on the left is permitted from either direction. B. Passing is permitted from the lane next to the broken line. C. Passing is permitted from the lane next to the solid line. D. Passing is not allowed from either direction. B. Passing is permitted from the lane next to the broken line. A broken yellow line alongside a solid yellow line means that passing is allowed from the lane on the side next to the broken line. Before passing another vehicle, you should signal A. Just before changing lanes. B. At any time. C. After changing lanes. D. Early enough for others to know your plans. D. Early enough for others to know your plans. Before passing, you should signal early enough for other drivers to know your plans in advance.